Good day, and thank you for joining our demonstration, Optimizing Cash Flow, Collections, and Denial Management. Today, Pete Beckes, product consultant, will focus on ways you can proactively identify revenue cycle opportunities and efficiencies. Before we get started, I wanted to mention that your lines are muted, and if you'd like to ask a question during the session, please type it in the Q&A panel, and our presenter will address it at the end. Be sure to select all panelists from the drop-down. This session is being recorded, and we'll send out the playback and slides in the coming days. Now I'd like to introduce Pete, who will get us started. Pete?
Great. Thanks, Lisa. So to go ahead and get started, we just kind of wanted to identify and talk quickly through some of the top healthcare trends that we're seeing within the market today. So over the last several years, we've seen a really big shift from inpatient and outpatient to ambulatory surgery centers and home health. Additionally, we've really seen a major shift within the last couple of years using computer-assisted coding, machine learning, really leveraging the big data that over the last 20-plus years, healthcare has really amassed such a massive amounts of data. So we've seen a shift in leveraging that data to help identify opportunities within healthcare. And that really kind of goes over to the ones over on the right here and really how analytics trends has really begun to kind of take off in the last couple of years, leveraging machine learning. And what does that really mean from a overall industry perspective, and specifically within the revenue cycle? So it really, and we'll talk through a couple of these examples here in a little while, but really helps to give some guided personal analytics as opposed to trying to understand, looking at data, understanding, interpreting the data yourselves, and trying to identify outliers and where there's opportunities. Machine learning is really helping to drive some of that level of guided analysis and predictive to help you identify where there's opportunities. So within healthcare, Gartner's published a recent study within looking at where CIOs and executives within healthcare are really spending dollars and looking to increase investments. And surprise, surprise, number one is really looking at BI, business intelligence, and data analytics solutions. You can kind of see through on the left there just where else they're looking to spend, but organizations are looking to be able to become smarter with leveraging their data and trying to get to better results in a more efficient manner. And so leveraging the data analytics solutions is really helping them identify that. Now, when we talk about barriers to analytics, what we've identified within a market and what we hear a lot of our clients tell us is they have really three main issues in trying to be successful with their analytics strategy. The first is around data orchestration. So we know hospital organizations and even surgery centers and multiple physician offices, data orchestration becomes an issue. Multiple EHRs, patient accounting systems, you have all these different disparate systems that sometimes you have integration, but they're all generating their own sets of data. Being able to take that data across multiple different platforms and bring them in and join that data set together to enrich really a core data set is really a major issue for a lot of organizations. The second is around actually the analytics and the visualization. So when you start talking about organizations and when we have multi-billion-dollar health systems, the amount of data and the complexity of the data that is obtained with these clients becomes something that is just outside of their scope. So what we're seeing is a lot of organizations, they try to start doing it themselves. They realize maybe they get the data orchestration part down, but then they have this massive set of data that it doesn't become intuitive. There's no way for them to quickly identify opportunities and really leverage the data. So now they have this massive data warehouse that they don't know how to actually use. And then the third piece is having smarter analytics. So leveraging the machine learning, the predictive analytics. Analytics is more than just reporting. And that's, I think, a really important piece to identify. A lot of patient accounting systems, you look at like Epic and Cerner, for example, a lot of them have reporting or a reporting bundle that's available to you. These are canned levels of reports, literally a report you run, you look at the numbers, you kind of identify. And for people who are maybe newer to an organization or are not quick at it, being able to identify where there's potentially outliers, having these advanced analytics becomes very powerful in helping them steer and make better, insightful decisions. So we talk about how analytics can help as opposed to just reporting. Here's a couple examples. We're not going to run through all of these, but I'm going to take a look at a couple of these as we jump into the demo here of the actual product itself. Now, before we jump into the demo, I mentioned analytics, the advanced analytics, machine learning. And so when we jump into that, our demo site doesn't have that capability because of the newer using real-time data to produce better, insightful decisions. So I just want to kind of pop into a couple of screenshots here so you guys take a look at some of the functionality that exists within one of our products called Business Office, being able to engage with patients, so collectability. So when we talked about, and Lisa started the session, right, what we're trying to drive to is optimizing cash flow and collections and denials management. We know that really patient engagement and patient collections is that last part of it. So within our Business Office solutions, we use machine learning algorithms to integrate with multiple different vendors, looking at historical data to identify kind of a propensity to pay, a collection-like model. But it's using a machine learning algorithm as opposed to simply just a simple score to identify how and what is the opportunity to collect the patient balance. The next here is AR Monitor. The AR Monitor kind of goes hand in hand with the next one, which is cash forecasting. But AR Monitor helps to predict what is the organization's expected AR over the next 7 to 14 days. So what we're doing here is it's using a machine learning algorithm to identify and take into account what is it expecting from new AR coming in? What is it that AR is going to end up getting closed? Is there something that's going to get written off? And within this dashboard, it allows you to quickly drill down to identify, is there a change or a trend that's happening within the organization that's throwing essentially your projections off from an AR perspective? For example, maybe there's a massive write-off, or you have an insurance company that's responding back differently in some types of denials, and you're having to take larger contractual adjustments. AR Monitor helps to identify those types of outliers so that you can make smarter, insightful decisions around next action steps to really help drive financial performance for the organization. When we look at cash forecasting, this is really helping to identify actual cash, as where the previous one was AR. So once again, using machine learning algorithms here, we're leveraging models that have been built within Python to identify where the potential high-risk account reviews that are going to help drive cash. So helping to predict what is the forecast for your cash. So as you kind of look at the screenshot here, you can see kind of the dotted line. That's really where it's forecasting what your cash is going to be here in the future. So leveraging machine learning helps to kind of identify where are there outliers, because we know that cash and AR is not always consistent when we take a look at day-to-day numbers. So I'm going to jump real quickly into Business Office, and we're going to take a look at a couple of examples surrounding how to improve your collections and your performance within your organization. And we're going to go through kind of back-end kind of key steps to identify potential opportunity. So the first here I have pulled up is our DNFB analysis. Now this exists within our product Business Office solutions. The DNFB analysis, as we know, making sure that we're not going to miss timely filing when needing to submit claims. So being able to drive deep into understanding where is there an opportunity within your DNFB, and being able to focus in on specific accounts that are maybe getting near those DNFB deadlines and timelines can help to mitigate from having to write off denials as a result of DNFB. So being able to submit those claims, at least getting them on file with the payer, will really help to mitigate any types of issues when it comes to denials as a result of timely filing. Now, organizations oftentimes don't necessarily have the greatest insights into their DNFB. When you include from the patient accounting systems into the scrubber what potentially got held, the DNFB analysis really helps with that. And we'll take a look at one other opportunity, one other insightful analytic dashboard that we have available here at the end of the demo that helps to identify what we refer to as black holes that kind of couples in with the DNFB. Now, once we get those claims submitted, the next thing that we often want to make sure that we're doing is following up with our payers to make sure that we know which accounts should be getting paid and if there's potentially an issue. Now, the Business Office solution leverages some levels of machine learning and looking at historical information to identify really where and when payment is expected on specific accounts. So I want to draw your attention over here to the days to expected payment. This is really beneficial and valuable for organizations as they're being asked oftentimes to deal with more accounts, more AR with fewer people. We know that in most organizations, if a follow-up rep or a denials team member has 1,200 accounts that are assigned to them for a period of time, we know that every day they're not getting through all 1,200 accounts. Oftentimes they're lucky if they get through 50 or 80 accounts, depending on the complexity of them. Leveraging things like this, where we can identify where the expected payment is, allows our user to work smarter as opposed to harder. So leveraging the information that we have within the analytics solution, we're able to more quickly identify which accounts are overdue and which accounts need to be focused on from an AR and a follow-up perspective. So we know that a certain number of accounts should auto-adjudicate without any type of intervention. We don't want our follow-up reps touching those accounts, and so we've carved those out of, hey, we are expecting payments on these sometime in the future, and these potentially will adjudicate themselves. Where most of our clients find the most amount of value is going to be over here at looking at these 6+ days, or for those that are really busy and really stretched, maybe this 10, 11+ days, and focusing on these specific accounts where we're not getting a response from the payer. And this then allows them to really hone in on the specific accounts that they need to have their follow-up reps working to making sure that we're actually getting cash back in the door. There are a couple of other visualizations on this dashboard that you can see. So looking at are there specific plans, where are patient types. Now, all of the dashboards are interactive, so if we want to hone in on a specific population of these specific accounts, you can see all of my visualizations update. And then down below, we can identify, is there a specific individual, whether it's a follow-up rep or a denials person who's managing these accounts? How many accounts do they have? Maybe do we need to shift some work because they're falling behind and we're going to potentially have to write off those balances as a result of not continuing to follow up with those payers? Now, once we've managed the follow-up priorities here, I'm going to jump into our next dashboard here that is going to be our payers with active denials. Now, all of our visualizations and dashboards give the ability for you to actually see different levels of visualization as well as drill down into the details. So whether we're looking at a summary level report, think of that as like a pivot-like table, or down to the detail level and looking at the specific accounts. Today, really, I just want to highlight some of the examples that are available within the product at the dashboard level that help to manage your collections. So the payers with active denials you can see here is identifying, is there a specific payer, what's the payer, how many accounts, and what's the denied dollars associated to those, and then what's the outstanding AR associated to it. So this allows for better stratification of your denials so that you can help to identify which denials should be worked most efficiently and with the highest level of priority. Below, you can see, just like the previous dashboard we were on, is we can click on one of those dashboards. We can identify the different type of category associated to it, and this will help allow us to take really these insights and move them further upstream. So we can use, for example, in this scenario, we have a high amount of eligibility denials. Do we need to look at revamping the process on the front end to help mitigate to having eligibility denials come through on the back end? We know that oftentimes eligibility denials can generally end up causing a write-off as a result of maybe no coverage, for example. Is where other things such as like COB are things that obviously can be corrected over time. So within the DNFB dashboard, it helps to identify obviously accounts where there's potential issues from getting claims out the door. The other opportunity to help manage your rev cycle to avoid write-offs is the Black Hole Opportunity Report, where this will allow you to help identify which specific accounts potentially have been identified as black holes. So these could be accounts where we're not receiving any updates from the payer, for example, and we're trying to get some more information back. So we like to use this black hole opportunity report because it is holistic in identifying all of your AR and being able to identify where potentially there's an opportunity of accounts that may have not got submitted to the payer or where there's issues within it's getting hung up somewhere within your revenue cycle process. All right, so sorry for those technical difficulties. Let's jump back to the slide. And so we'll go ahead and I'll turn it back over here to Lisa for the before we jump into Q&A.
Great, thank you, Pete. We just wanted to provide a couple of resources for you. If you have any interest in learning more, you can certainly visit our website at medianalytics.com. And if you are interested in a more personalized demonstration or assessment of your business needs, you can certainly reach out to us with the link you see on your screen. We would like to take an opportunity now for you to ask any questions that you have. So as a reminder, you can submit your questions on the Q&A panel and select all panelists. So I'll give folks a moment to submit some questions. And it does look like we have one or two at the moment. So I'll go ahead and ask the first one. So Pete, this one is it possible to bring in new data fields into the platform?
Yeah, absolutely. So the MediAnalytics platform, I specifically looked at today was one specific product. The platform is really designed and flexible when it comes to bringing in additional data fields. So we have clients that have I would say, a more prescribed data specs of our different products. And within those, we often allow for custom fields. So we have clients, for example, as a result of COVID, there are some clients that are sending in some certain fields or flags out of Epic, for example, or out of Cerner that allows them to do more insightful analytics within their existing data sets. So as opposed to standard revenue cycle, they're leveraging those additional data fields to be able to provide more insightful analytics for them specifically for COVID. So it's very easy for us to implement and deploy additional data fields within the existing data sets.
Okay, great, thank you. One other question says, can you expand on other analytics products you offer to help with the industry's challenges?
Yeah, absolutely. So actually the forward slides here, and we'll take a look at just some of the additional revenue cycle products that we have available. Now, this is by no means a exhaustive list of different products that are available within the Medi portfolio. These are kind of some of the specific revenue cycle ones. So patient access is driven around a patient workflow and helping to financially clear patients and making sure that we're really getting them through the entire process and verifying everything prior to service to avoid write-offs or bad debt in the back end. The revenue integrity product helps to improve CMI by looking at your CC and MCC capture rates along with compliance and audit risks. And so we have a pretty extensive risk rule library that exists within there. And then obviously we touched a little bit on Business Office. I highlighted a couple of the dashboards that exist, but that's really focused on back office.
All right, great, thank you. Not sure if you cut out at the end there, but we'll go into this one final question here. Can you tell me more about planned predictive analytics features and functionalities coming up in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked a little bit about some of those predictive capabilities that exist with our monitor and forecasting. So at Medi, we actually have a staff data scientists that are working to help identify and address potential issues and really leveraging the existing data sets to identify where is there additional possibilities and opportunity from a machine learning and a data science. So a couple of the ones that they talked about in addition to AR monitor and catch forecasting is really expanding out kind of those time horizons. So more than just a few weeks, but looking at several months into the future, along with some predictive denials. So being able to be more prescriptive, looking at where there's potentially a higher probability of denials before the claims submitted to the payer.
Great, thank you so much. It doesn't look like we have any other questions at this time, but if anything comes up, feel free to let us know what questions you have. And at this time, I'd like to just thank all of you for attending today. Thank you, Pete, for presenting. And we appreciate you taking the time to attend. And if we can be of any further assistance, be sure to let us know. Have a great day, everybody.